Welcome. What if getting strong didn't have to be?
Why so serious?
Let's throw some weight around, have a little fun, and still leaving the gym feeling like a. Welcome to the most fun you'll have lifting all week. Today is all about stimulating the nervous system and anaerobic conditioning. First thing we want to do is we want to start off with rack pulls, and we want to be able to utilize our nervous system to get it to fire on all cylinders, because for the simple fact that we want to ensure that we are maintaining adequate strength levels while we are staying away from the heavier weights at full range of motion. So we want to do rack pulls because we're only doing partial lifts, and then that way we can do a static hold at the top of the movement, whether this is bench, squat, deadlift, RDL, shoulder press, doesn't matter. However, it does matter because those are the three primary pillars of lifts that I like to be able to utilize throughout my lifts that aren't compound movements, that are necessarily the ones you really focus on. A lot of people are like, oh, I love doing barbell rows, something, whatever, it doesn't matter. The three that I choose is deadlift, squat, and bench, but we are doing static holds at the top. 5 to 10 seconds. You really only need 5 seconds. Though there's this kind of like little fun feeling that if you get when you go to 10 seconds, which it is unnecessary, I just like to ensure that I'm counting enough because I also lose count and can't count right when I am doing it. So this is a personal thing. You don't have to do it. 5 seconds is perfect. Sorry for the rant. Now it's time to get into the actual workout. So the first thing we do is we have a routine where we run a mini circuit. So it's 3 movements all leading into themselves. Now this is a variation today in this video of what I actually have been doing. So I'll explain what I'm doing now, and then I will explain what I had been doing later. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing a Pendlay Row for 5 reps to get some slightly heavier volume to stimulate that heavier lifting. That way we are focusing on that part of the velocity curve where the reps are a little bit slower, but it's mostly strength based. Then we go into our accessory lift where we are getting a little extra volume towards the end of hypertrophy just to keep the heart rate up, keep the muscles from getting too relaxed. And then what we want to do is we want to be able to utilize a real world application for utilizing it. So I'm working on punching rotation, punching rotation, punching rotation. And the reason why I'm focusing on punching rotation is because I have decided that I'm going to pursue boxing until I'm the best of the best. I have a long way to go. So one thing that you'll notice here is clearly the cage is not staying still, and every time that I pull back to rotate into a punch, it is pulling the power cage. It was extremely annoying. I'm not the biggest fan of this current setup, but the one that I had been doing is I would do a sled pull. So I would step back till the lines were taut, and then I would row the sled to me. Then I would follow it up with gorilla rows like I am now, but I was using kettlebells, which, by the way, the difference between dumbbells and kettlebells is immense because these adjustable dumbbells kept hitting the inside of my thigh, so I just wasn't going up as high, and it was extremely annoying. So if you do get a choice, when it comes to gorilla rows, I highly recommend utilizing kettlebells because they're utilized just a little bit easier and you're able to pull up a little bit higher without hitting the inside of your thigh. Now, there are some dumbbell variations that might not cause that issue, but these adjustable ones are just a little bit too long for me to utilize the way I want to. So, moral of the story is it starts with a heavier lift, 5 reps. Then it goes into an accessory lift, that's 10 reps. Now, I was doing 20 reps if I was counting them right when I was actually doing it. Sometimes I'd be a little off. And then that's just to get that little extra volume because it's a gorilla row. It's a single arm at a time, so it's a total of 20 reps. So it's 10 reps each arm, or if you have just an accessory lift that requires bilateral movement, then it's just 10 reps. But this is unilateral and it's alternating. Then you want to do 3 reps of real world application. Again, same principle. If it's unilateral, do it on both sides. Make sure your body is balanced and even. And if it is bilateral, you just have to do 3 in general. Now, the initial one is a steady tempo. It's not about moving super quick. I'm moving a little too fast in this now that I'm watching the recording. And the accessory lift is also a steady tempo lift. The other thing I'll say is the real world application, the applicable thing for whatever sport you're training for. The last one, that just application lift, that punching one that I'm doing, or I guess I kind of left that out. So when I usually do this with the sled and then the kettlebell gorilla row, the real world application is either a pull up, as explosive as I can, or it's a med ball slam. But the point of the last one in those 3 reps that you're supposed to do, either on both sides or one side, depending on whether it's bilateral or unilateral, what you want to be able to do is move as quickly as possible. And I mean fast. You don't want any hesitation in the movement. You want to bust all 3 out as fast as possible. You want to go, 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 go. And so what I'm trying to utilize here is I'm trying to utilize different energy systems. So a lot of it is it's all anaerobic. None of it's aerobic, but it's different ways to target the anaerobic system because we have speed, we have strength, and we have more time under tension. And so we have 3 different principles that we're training on. So
it's really tiring. This isn't as bad as the other routine I typically do, though. We'll say that. It's a lot easier. Just so you know. Actually, one other thing I do want to say that it really goes to show that I went down in these intensity weight variations throughout the week. Yes, I'm progressing. However, this hand-in, one thing I do notice, which I'm sorry I already said in the video, is that the gorilla rows using a dumbbell, I can't pull my elbow back as much because it hits my leg when I pull it in. And I don't have a heavy enough set of kettlebells to be able to do this. And I would just use a plate, but they're too big. So it's kind of hard to like grip and then rip. And they're just as wide, so it still hit. I don't know. This ain't my usual routine, so.
okay, I got a little off topic and I started rambling. I love doing that and I love adding context, but let's just go ahead and summarize this real quick. This workout starts with an iso hold at the top. Target the nervous system. Make sure that you're getting your nervous system to fire so you can maintain adequate strength levels without losing anything, because trying to lift heavy and incorporating all these extra movements, there's a real good chance you're going to get hurt and you're not going to be able to do it. So my dog just wants to make sure I'm doing proper form, proper tempo, and I'm not cheating myself by cutting anything out. So when it comes to all this, you have 3 exercises that you're going to run in a circuit fashion. This is almost like an AMRAP. So you want to go as quickly as you can from one thing to the next thing, 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 and just keep going. You want to minimize how long your break is at the end of the triple set. At the end of the triple set, you want to aim for anywhere for 30 seconds to a minute. A minute's pushing it. Anything longer than that, you're going to give yourself just a little bit too much rest. Now, given if you're not used to this, even if you take a minute break, it is still going to be exhausting because the movements so closely mimic each other. You're not going to have a whole lot of time for those muscles that are being activated for these movements to actually rest because you're go, 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 go. So 30 seconds to a minute, and if you can just keep going and not take any break whatsoever, that's extremely impressive. But make sure that the weights match the intensity. These are supposed to be somewhat intense as you go through alone by themselves. So if you're trying to pick that out, shoot around anywhere from, I would say, on the lower end, 45 to 60% of your 1 rep max. When it comes to the prime movement, so my Pendlay Row, and then make sure you have adequate levels of strength. So if you know how much you dumbbell row, whether it's single arm, double, or if you do gorilla, make sure it's that challenging working weight where you typically maybe do your sets of 12 at that weight, because you're cutting the reps down just a little bit and you're adding it into a circuit fashion. So it's 3 exercises, very minimal break, and it's 5 rounds. 5 rounds of this, and you want to get through them not necessarily as quick as possible, but you definitely, again, you're not trying to stall with the breaks. You're trying to minimize the breaks. So technically it's as quick as possible. You're just not trying to get the reps done as quick as possible. So it's heavy, accessory, then application. Application is extremely fast. The other 2, they just keep you moving. One's heavy, one's volume, and this one is application and speed. I'm feeling very slow. One thing you'll realize is when you get to the application and speed lift, your body's going to feel extremely, extremely exhausted. Now, here comes the next variation, which I will end up going on a side tangent about. So let's get the rant out of the way. So in this video, it takes me forever to figure out to do a chaos variation of a pull lift. I have been working on several variations of a chaos variation of a pull. So chaos pull-ups are absolutely phenomenal, but on the power setup that I have, on the rack that I have, it's not high enough for me to be able to really utilize this. And if you've ever tried this before, it is already really difficult, let alone a few variations not really wanting to play ball. So I spent a long time during this workout, longer than I recorded, like a really, really long time trying to figure this out. I thought maybe I needed more of a band because maybe I was just feeling a little weak. Um, it's not the case. It's just, long story short, this took way too long. I spent like 30 minutes trying to get those pads up there and make sure I could balance the bands up there and actually practice everything. Now, the cool thing is that it worked when I doubled up the bands, but also you need 10 reps here. You need 10 slow and controlled reps, and the band stiffness it was too stiff. Like, it was too stiff. It's not bouncing around enough. It's not chaotic enough. And again, I'm having to hold my lower body up because right now my feet are on the ground. And trying to go through and utilize this and set it up and make sure I had a good grip, it was hard to grip because the bands, they start pulling, as you know. So I decided to put and of course the band snapped off the pad. I was super upset. But you can put a bar in the bands and then do a pull from there. And I was just sitting on my butt and pulling myself up, which was just fine, but I don't get enough of a stretch like I was hoping. I don't want a release at the bottom of a movement. I want it to continue to oscillate. I want it to continue to bounce around while I'm doing it, and I couldn't get that on here. Now, there are several variations that you can do. You can do a chaos row, which that's really fun, but again, it's not super chaotic. You know, you set up some kettlebells with some bands at the end of a barbell, or if you have an earthquake bar, then you put some weights at the end of the earthquake bar, and you just start repping it out, and you just keep going. And the point of this is it's reactive training for your muscle. It's chaos work. If you want to learn more about chaos work, let me know down below, because I'd love to talk more about it, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. The point of this one was it was supposed to be 3 slow and controlled reps of 10. And it is really, really exhausting. This is great for injury prevention. This gets all your muscle fibers firing, and it continues to exhaust the muscles that have already just gone by this point. And if you haven't tried it, you really, really, really need to try it. I promise you, it's totally worth it. You can do a chaos inverted row. You can do a TRX variation where you use bands, and that one I have found to be the most achieving of the goal that I am intending. So anyway, give the chaos exercise a try. It follows up after the triple set after your 5 rounds. Then you have 3 rounds of the chaos work, 10 slow and controlled reps. All right. So what I'm realizing here is that this is a really long clip to not explain or have an extra visual for because it's extremely boring just to watch. This is the burnout conditioning aspect. So this is 3 minutes of constant movement. Now, typically we would have a caloric goal and we would have an intensity goal. I do not have the variation with me when I am working out at home. I typically do an endless rope or a ski erg. This just allows for explosive movement. It allows me to target some calories and different intensities because of the settings on the machine. And it is, man, at the end of this workout, when you do this burnout, it's insane. Here, I'm having to do a banded variation of an endless rope because I don't have a way to do a ski erg here, and I don't have an endless rope. So I don't have what I need to be able to replicate what I have been doing. Now, this works just fine. It's not as intense, and it takes a little bit of a setup because you have to switch hands, and because it's a band, it wants to slip up out of your hands and you don't want to let it go. And then of course the friction of the rubber, because when you're trying to switch hands, it grabs onto the other hand, and then it takes a little bit to transition from left to right, left to right, right to left, right to left, right to left. So the point is just go 3 minutes, a solid 3-minute round. And the reason why it's a 3-minute round for me is because boxing. Now, the timing can change. The timing can change. You want 3 rounds of this burnout where it's relatively, it's a really low intensity because you just worked all your muscles. You're already exhausted. You've already done your resistance training. You've already gotten full range of motion. Now, the nice thing is with this burnout that I've decided to pick is you get a nice stretch. You get to work into full range of motion. You get to be explosive. You get to be consistent. You really get to condition that muscle to just go, go, go. No breaks. It's just a solid 3 minutes. Now, again, you can switch the variation, you can switch the intensity, and you can switch the time if you want. But to follow this workout, you want to ensure that it's at least 3 minutes, or you want to try to get around 3 minutes, not at least 3 minutes. I can't imagine having to go longer than that. I guess it depends on the athletic that you were trying to, well, the sport, not the athletic, the sport that you were trying to accomplish and go into. So, with all that being said, is that you just want to go, go, go. It's exhausting, and you want to do 3 rounds of this. You want to try to get 3 3-minute rounds, and you don't want to stop. You just want to keep moving. Now, I will say, if you feel like you need to stop, just slow the movement down. Think lower frequency. So keep it moving, keep it grooving. Don't give up. Don't stop, and just breathe through it. The more it burns, the more you need to breathe. The lactic acid is really building up. So that's what that exercise is. 3 rounds of that. Now we are finishing up with a little bit of accessory core, and that's just because I didn't have room for it in the middle of the workout. It took too long, a whole bunch of other variables. I need to work on my core just a little bit more, so we're not doing anything too intense. We are just simply letting the body work just a little bit more. Now, after you've done everything, it's extremely exhausting, so I'm doing planks with superset of Supermans, and it's really, really fun. So I'm more exhausted than I need to be, but it's just a quick little superset. So you want to plank like anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, and then you want to do a superset with the Supermans at 30 seconds to a minute. This is going to allow for better core recruitment, and of course, we're going to condition that core musculature to stay engaged throughout the whole thing. So the workout was iffy on this video, but the actual workout is very intense, and you really need to give it a try. So give it a shot, but let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you for being here with me and working out. And please make sure you show a little love down below. You know the buttons to hit. It means a lot to me. It helps me keep going. It keeps me encouraged. So anyway, it's up to you. Thanks for being here with me, working out. Stay growing and stay smiling. And of course, stay silly. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Later. Don't forget to shimmy. Don't forget to shimmy. Don't forget to shimmy, 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 shimmy. Don't forget to shimmy.